Hey, it's Doug. Welcome into the CCM Cafe. A very special guest joins us to talk about a brand new book, Trace Adkins. Oh, wait, Scott Brickell.
I'm a lot better looking than Trace Adkins.
So we've got a lot to talk about with this brand new book, The Business Behind the Song. But before we get there, as far as the Trace Adkins connection, there's a little band, Mercy Me. I think people have heard about them. Yep. And that song, I Can Only Imagine, that came into a movie. Mm-hmm. Trace Adkins played you in the movie.
He portrayed me in the movie, sure did, yeah. He, the Irwin brothers are the ones that kind of put it all together. They wrote the script and they're like, hey, we got a guy that's going to be perfect to play you. And when they said it, I was like, yeah, he's never going to do that. But we met on set, and he didn't need to. I mean, he just nailed it from day one. He nailed it and was able to just be himself. We both grew up on farms. We both don't really care what people think of us. So it all kind of worked out.
So what was that like, though? I can only imagine. As a kid, did you ever think?
Right. I mean, I've grown up listening to his music. I rode tractors as a kid, listening to Trace, sing, and it was definitely like, holy cow, this is really happening. And when we kind of the first day I met him, they sat us in the director's chairs and watching monitors because he had some scenes later that day.
Okay.
But they were just like, hey, why don't you guys sit here and just get to know each other? And so we'd watch the scene, and then we'd talk, and then we'd watch the scene and talk, and ate lunch together that day. And I mean, it was literally just like talking to my brother who I hadn't seen in a while. And
cool.
We just kind of he when he's not talking, he purrs, like he'll sit there and kind of to keep his voice warmed up.
Wow.
And I was like, are you purring?
His motor's always running.
He's always running. But yeah, I mean, he's just a good dude, and he did a great job. And there were a couple times where, he's like, hey, how would you handle this? Like the scene where Bart barges in on the label, that came to the showcase and all that. And the first take he kind of yelled at Bart, and I'm like, I would never yell at Bart. That's not how I would react. And so we kind of worked through that a little bit. But other than that, man, he crushed it. He's sarcastic, he's good looking, just like me.
All the things.
All the things.
Well, I know from having talked to Bart before about the movie and everything, it was really a desire to be fully authentic in telling this story. There didn't need to be anything made up.
Right. And the only thing that, like that scene with the 5 labels, that was really, in reality, 5 different showcases over the course of a year, with one label at each of those showcases.
Okay.
But you're trying to cram 20 years into an hour and 48 minutes.
Yeah.
So you put all 5 labels at one showcase. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
no major stretches of
no, not at
reality.
all. And the Irwin brothers, they say, hey, we're not taking a picture, we're painting a portrait. And they want the portrait to have the same feel of the people that were in there or the story that's being told, and they crushed it.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, moving on to the book, I want to make sure I get the stats here right, so I want to read this here. Founder and president of Brickhouse Entertainment, Scott Brickell. The artists that have been managed by Brickhouse have reached over 50 #1 singles, numerous gold, platinum, and multi-platinum records, multiple Grammy Dove American Music Awards, and have participated in over 6,000 shows to date. 6,000 shows?
It makes you want to take a nap, doesn't it?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, when you combine all the artists that I've managed over the years, and while we were managing them, the number of shows that we've helped them put on is over 6,000. Yeah.
So what was the genesis for this? This to me just looks like it's a must-read for anybody connected to the music industry at all.
Yeah, so I did the same talk several times to like a new artist. That's kind of where it started. Hey, I got a daughter that wants to be a singer. Will you meet with her, right? So I'd go meet with her or him or whoever, and usually the parents come along. And I started doing the same talk multiple times to the point where I'm like, I'd forget a few key pieces. So I put it together in a Prezi presentation form, like a PowerPoint, but it's Prezi.com as a website. And that was about 15 years ago. And I've tweaked it over the years. The things have changed a little bit. So I tweaked things over the years with distribution and things like that. But it's basically the same talk. It's like, if you want to be an artist, here's the path that you can kind of get there. Here's the point at which you'll start making money. Here's what labels do. Here's what producers do. Here's what distribution companies do. Here's what booking agents do. And you just kind of walk through, the whole thing all the way up to selling merchandise on the road, who would be part of your road crew. And through that, I've been interrupted by artists at different times, and they'll go, well, I don't want to be an artist. I want to be that. Maybe it's, a studio musician or a background vocalist, that just does studio work. Or, one artist was like, I think I just want to be a road manager, And so I started realizing, oh, wait, this isn't just for artists. This is for anybody that wants to pursue a career in the music business.
Okay.
And so what I did was I went and spoke at Liberty University, and they had, 70 or so students that David Nasser was kind of overseeing as part of his, his group. That he's got band guys, vocalists, production guys, graphic designer people, like a whole team to help run what he was doing with Convocation and his Wednesday night Bible study. And so I spoke to them, and then at the end I said, hey, I'll stick around for Q&A. And we did about 3 hours of Q&A.
Wow.
Afterwards. And it was real questions. It was like, hey, during the Prezi you said this. Explain to me more about that.
Okay.
And you could just see wheels turning out of those 70 kids. Like they were all in. And so I left there going, man, I need to make a book out of this. I think it'd be great for a college kid or a worship leader or, anybody that's, part of a worship team that thinks they might want to do this. And so, pandemic hit, and what are you going to do? So I wrote a book. And so that's kind of how it all came together. It was easy in the beginning. It got a lot harder toward the end whenever you're like, down to the final, this is it kind of stuff. But I grew up with my mom always talking about her wanting to do a book. And we lost her in 2010. And she never was able to do a book. So I always kind of had that in the back of my head too, going, I need to do this for her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the heart of a teacher, obviously you have.
Yeah.
God's gifted us in different ways, but for you to have the patience and the understanding that you want to be there for everybody through this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason for, me to die with this information. You know what I mean? Like, let's pass it on to the next generation. When I came to Nashville, it took me probably, like when I came to Nashville, I knew like, not touring per se, but I knew like going out on the road and helping an artist and selling merchandise and a little bit about sound and running, doing church gigs and stuff, maybe a church camp. But that was really it. I knew very little about labels. I knew nothing about distribution, didn't know what a promoter did, and it took me literally about 6 years to kind of piece together how this whole thing works. You know what I mean? And so if I'd have had that, and I could walk into Nashville with this knowledge, and I wouldn't, you're not going to fully understand it, but at least you'll know the terms. I've got a glossary in the back of this that's pretty extensive, and I refer to it several times throughout the chapters, and at the end of each chapter, I list a list of jobs that are within that particular field.
Okay.
And at one point we were trying to come up with a name, and I just kind of threw out the idea of like, what if we called it the 182 jobs in the music business? And I was kind of shooting high, just thinking, oh, there's all these jobs, right? Well, one of my staff started counting all the jobs at the end, and he interrupted us like 5 minutes later, and he goes, there's 182 jobs you list. Exactly.
Whoa.
And I was like, wait a minute, I just threw that out, and that's the actual number. So that was pretty funny, but and we've tweaked it a little bit. There's probably somewhere around there, but it's probably a few more than that now with the finished product. But yeah, I mean, it's a great resource if you want to know about it. One of the students that I met at Liberty was actually a friend of my son's. My son played football for Liberty, and my son called me. He goes, "Hey, would you meet with a buddy of mine? He's a psych major." And I was like, yeah, sure. So I was there for a football game, and afterwards I called him up. I said, hey, let's get together. So we did. I went through the Prezi,
Okay.
and he goes, ooh, I want to be a producer. And I was like, okay. So, there you go. He goes, but my dad's an attorney. I don't know if he'll let me change my major to music business. So anyway, talked his dad into it, changed his major to music business, and then I helped him get an internship a couple summers ago with a producer to just kind of come in and help out and kind of learn the business. And then after that summer, he came to me. He goes, I don't think I want to be a producer. I think I want to be a manager. He goes, I like the idea of helping get it all together, but not just on the musical side, like on the promotion side, on the touring side, all that. And so, he ended up, I talked to him several times, and now he works for me.
Whoa.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
His name's Caleb. And, he's young, but he references the book daily whenever, because he kind of helped me at the very end, kind of put it all together and make sure that I spelled everything right, et cetera. So he's been through the book a couple times, and he references it daily, and he's like, man, it's just a great resource. It helps him get a leg up as he's starting his career in the industry.
What would you say as far as biggest challenges in your career along the way, related to the book or not, but some of those things where we're like, man.
Personally, for me, I struggle whenever I see a very talented singer or artist or front person or band or whatever, and they automatically want to start talking about, like, well, they want to do this, but they want their platform to be about, battered women or, child sponsorships or whatever. And I'm like, well, you don't have a platform yet. And so they're always kind of putting the cart before the horse. That's one. And the other thing is just the idea that you can be super talented, but if you don't have a song people care about, you don't have a career.
That's it.
And in the book, I describe, in my opinion, you're not an artist until you have a song that is your song, that either you wrote or someone else wrote and gave you permission to kind of make it your own and release it to radio or whatever. But until you have your own song that you can go out and present to the world, to me, you're a worship leader or you're a cover band or you're just singing other people's stuff. And so the challenge to me is just getting into people's heads that it is all about the song. And write a song and go sing it live. Don't write a song and think it's amazing because your mom told you it's amazing, or your boyfriend, or your wife, or your best friends, or your small group, or whatever. Like, write a song and go sing it live to a group of people that have never heard you before, don't know anything about you, and don't set it up. Just sing it. Don't talk about it. Don't say this was a song about my grandma, and don't get them crying before you start singing the song. Just sing the song. And if people react, then you got something. If they don't, go back to the drawing board. But you got to get to the point where you have your own songs, and then you can start to have a career.
So for someone who is in the music industry right now and wanting to do Christian music, talk about staying grounded in terms of you came in with a faith thing, but sometimes fame can be alluring.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a healthy lifestyle. You got to set yourself up to have a healthy lifestyle. Whether you're a manager or whether you're in radio or whether you're at a label, like it's balance. You got to, spiritual, mental, physical, financial, keep all those things in balance. And spiritual is very important. And staying connected to your church, I think, is the best way. We do shows so often on Sundays, it's hard to feel like you're connected to your church unless you're connected through your small group that maybe meets on a Tuesday, right? So just trying to figure out how to stay connected to your church. And spouses are pretty good at keeping you grounded, just not getting the big head. They're good about making you take out the trash and reminding you you got a list of honeydews when you come off the road. Real quick story. I did call my wife and made the mistake of telling her how much fun I was having on the road before I checked in with her to see how things were going at home. And I was like, oh, we're at the beach. It's beautiful here today. And, we've got the whole day. We're going to go to this really nice restaurant for lunch. And she goes, that's great. Hot water heater's out. Kids are crying. 2 of them are sick. It was just the wrong thing to say. So I got home from that trip, and she had a brand new computer with these speakers, and I was like, big old monitor. I was like, okay, I earned that one.
Never made that mistake.
Not yet.
So, I mean, talk about that. You and Stacy have been married 28 years?
28 years.
4 kiddos?
4 kids.
How do you strike even that with the work-life balance? I know it's a special breed of woman that is okay with her man being away for different times.
Yeah, and she recently became a doctor. So she's now a doctor in education. And she spent 8 years going through that process. And we're so excited that she was able to accomplish that. But, you know, just her supporting me and the crazy ideas and even starting the company. She was pregnant with our first whenever I quit True Artist and started Brickhouse. And you know, for her to say yes to that, you know, with the unknowns that go along with that, and all the, you know, what's going to happen with our lives whenever we get this, you know, new kid and you know, stability and all that, you know, it's just kind of thrown out the window. But you know, finding the right woman is key, and her supporting me, and she's taught me how to support her. You know, like whenever she said, "Hey, I think I want to work on my doctorate," I was like, you know, I think you probably should have started that a couple months ago, because she got her master's and she loved the process.
Okay.
And when she was done, she graduated, and you know, we went out and celebrated and went on a trip and all that. And I was like, she's not done with, you know, she's going to keep going. And I didn't know if it was another master's or if she was going to go do the doctorate thing. But when she finally said it, I was like, yeah, I was waiting for you to say that. So, but yeah, just supporting each other, and it's not always been, you know, rosy, but staying committed. It's a commitment every day, you know, regardless. And but yeah, just, you know, realizing that this too shall pass. You know, whether you're at the Grammys winning Grammys, or you know, whether it's a bad day with the hot water heater, this too shall pass, and you just keep supporting each other and keep loving each other. And it's, you know, it's about grace, which, you know, we all need in our lives, and that's a free gift that's given to us, so why can't we give it to each other, you know?
Yeah. I'm curious your thoughts on people that might be interested in getting into the music business through television, The Voice, American Idol.
Well, there are some really nice success stories through that, and there are some really not great success stories. And I think it's just like anything else. You know, because labels have signed artists and thought they were going to be the next thing because it all kind of seemed to fit and it was lining up and the songs were there, producer was there, but for whatever reason it didn't connect with the fans. And you know, that's the same thing that's going on with all those shows. There's a lot of hype around, you know, the finale and the winner and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I don't think that they've done a great job taking all those winners, you know, to the next step. Probably because they focus on TV, you know, and they're great at that.
Yeah.
And I think if they brought in a team to focus on the career after the TV and maximizing on all that, then it might do a little bit better. But at the end of the day, it's all about the fans deciding whether they want to, you know, engage with that artist or not. And some, you know, some artists are great on TV and some artists aren't great at a live show. So, you know, it's just, it is what it is.
Well, there were several artists that I remember interviewing that had, you know, success in American Idol, and some of them are still being played today. And one in particular just said, "It's a TV show."
Yeah, it is.
And that's what you have to remind yourself of when you get bummed out. Oh, that person is a TV show.
TV show.
And they hooked us in.
Yeah, they are selling ads. They're selling commercials. That's all they're doing.
That's right. So of all the stuff that you've gotten to experience and do, is there, oh my gosh, this was the quintessential amazing moment? Was there a particular mountaintop experience that stands out?
Obviously, the movie, the premiere, you know, that was a big thing. You know, that was an unexpected. You know, you expect at some point you're going to be working with an artist that's going to go to the Grammys, you know, the Dove Awards, American Music Awards, things like that. At some point, you're expected to go with an artist to, you know, Red Rocks or, you know, Rockefeller Center, or, you know, like, Radio City, or, you know, a nice venue or whatever. But to have the story of your artist told in a movie, and to be on a red carpet, and, you know, having someone portray you like, I mean, that was just unexpected. You know, it took us. That was another 8-year project. That from the first meeting until the premiere, it was about 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it was well done.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
They really did a great job, and you know, it was. I mean, I was nervous because most Christian movies up to that point were some cheesiness going on, I think it would be a good term.
Yeah, yeah. But the Irwin brothers, I mean, in my personal opinion, have always been
They've always been a notch above. So.
next level stuff.
Yeah, totally.
One other question that comes to mind is it easier now to get into the music industry in terms of the exposure that you can create yourself through social media and other things, that it's not just the way it was maybe when you first started, where we have to go to the label, we have to get radio airplay? People are making it without radio.
They are, and if you'd have asked me in 2005, if radio would still exist in 2020, what are we, 3 now?
Yeah.
I would have said no, and I'd have been wrong. Like, radio is as important now as it ever was.
Good, okay.
And the program director is not just programming for his station. He's programming for playlists. He's programming for podcasts. He's programming for so many more people than just his station. And he's a professional at it, and he's good at it. And he's been doing it a long time. And he's got relationships with labels, and so I don't see that going away. Okay. Now that we've kind of gone through this cycle, is it easier to get into? It's easier to start a career. In my opinion, it's harder to make it. And what I mean by make it is have a national platform and tour nationally for 10 years or more. To me, that's making it.
Okay.
Because there's so much noise, right? There's so many other people that can do exactly what they're doing, throw their stuff up on SoundCloud and get some social media going and make a lyric video, whatever. But labels have less developmental money now than they did back in the 80s and 90s. Because back in the 80s and 90s, they were selling singles for $16.95, not 99 cents now for streaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For pennies. And so the budget to develop new artists has gone way down. And they're constantly looking for artists that, I call it, have their own plane in the air and just strap some jet engines on it. But because that development time is so much shorter, a lot of times when they strap the jet engines on it, the plane disintegrates. Right when they light the engines.
Can't take it.
Can't take it. They haven't been through enough training, and not necessarily training, but just been through the ropes of doing shows, touring and developing those muscles, developing themselves as a writer, being out in front of people. And so when I meet with a new artist for the first time, I'll tell them, hey, you really need to go out and do something at least 125 times, whether it's your own show, sing the national anthem for a football game at high school or college or pro or whatever, sing some in the round stuff, do some songwriter stuff, put together a band and try to do some cover stuff, go out and do a wedding reception. Like, learn what monitors do. Learn how to work with the janitor at the church to move the piano 2 feet so that the drum riser, learn all those things, and then decide if you really want to do this. And most people decide they don't because it's too hard. So the one thing that hasn't changed in all this, and I talk about it in the book in the first chapter, is it's all about hard work. You're going to hear no, you're going to hear you're crazy, you're going to hear this isn't going to work, and you just got to decide that this is what you're going to do and lower your nose and go get it.